Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome back to NFL Nexus, the explainer, where we take the raw data of the gridiron, strip away the noise, and transform it into the real story. I'm your host, and before we unravel the absolute mystery of today's deep dive, do me a favor. Take a second, right now, to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button on this explainer, and comment down below with what you thought. You can also directly support what we're doing here by becoming a channel member. All right. Let's get focused. The 2026 NFL season is looming large, and for the Seattle Seahawks, the stakes have literally never been higher. I mean, we're not just talking about another year on the calendar. This is a complete collision course. We're looking at massive strategic gambles, we're looking at aging veterans fighting for one last shot at redemption, and a schedule that legitimately threatens to break this team before the season even truly begins. Because look around the NFC West, it's become an absolute arms race. You've got offensive masterminds pushing the boundaries of pre-slot motion every single week, and defensive lines completely stacked with generational freak-of-nature talent. To survive in this division, you can't just be good anymore. You have to be absolutely lethal. The Seahawks know this. They are currently building an arsenal in the shadows because they know the battlefield waiting for them is entirely unforgiving.
They better be ready for me, for sure. I want you to really listen to those words. Let the tension in that warning sink in for a second. This is not your standard PR-approved, manufactured locker room talk. No, this is a direct, ominous threat from former Seahawks defensive back Kobe Bryant, who is now lacing them up for the Chicago Bears. Now, obviously, when players leave a franchise, there is almost always some lingering animosity, right? But you have to understand the hyper-specific context of Bryant's departure. This is a guy drafted in the 4th round who fought tooth and nail for every single rep in Seattle's secondary, only to watch the front office systematically draft over him year after year, or bring in expensive free agents to steal his snaps. He felt completely undervalued. And when a professional athlete feels that way, it creates a burning, deep-seated desire to prove the old regime wrong. Bryant isn't hiding that chip on his shoulder. He's broadcasting it to the entire world. He wants Seattle. He wants them early. And as the rumors start to swirl about the impending schedule release, it really looks like the NFL might give him exactly what he's asking for. So the question is, how do the Seahawks respond to a deeply personal threat like this? What's the countermove?
Part 1. The Off-Season Catalyst.
Okay, let's dive into this because you don't just ignore a threat in this league. You prepare for it. The front office in Seattle understands that to survive the brutal, physical gauntlet of the NFC West, plus the mounting pressure from outside challengers, you need relentless, unapologetic aggression on the defensive side of the ball. You need players who have actually been in the trenches, guys who understand the absolute razor-thin margin between a momentum-shifting sack and a devastating, game-losing blown coverage. Seattle isn't looking for long-term development projects right now. They are looking for mercenaries. And that brings us to the fascinating timeline of edge rusher Dante Fowler Jr. Just look at the miles on those tires. He enters the league way back in 2015, drafted 3rd overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the weight of being a top 3 pick is suffocating. You carry the expectations of immediate, franchise-altering greatness. And for Fowler, that dream was brutally derailed by a torn ACL on his very first day of rookie minicamp. But he fought back. By 2018, he gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams, right in the middle of their chaotic, star-studded pursuit of a championship. He thrived under defensive coordinator Wade Phillips, ultimately earning a massive payday. Then comes 2020. He signs with the Atlanta Falcons, a massive 3-year, $48 million contract, but the reality of the NFL sets in. He struggles with injuries, he's forced to learn a completely new defensive scheme that didn't fit his aggressive downhill style, and things fall apart. You know, NFL stands for not for long. Contracts get voided, pay cuts are taken. By 2025, he's grinding it out with the Dallas Cowboys under Dan Quinn, reinventing himself as a rotational terror. And now, in 2026, he arrives in Seattle. This is a man who has played for massive generational wealth, and he has played for his literal survival in the league. That is the exact psychological profile the Seahawks need in their locker room right now.
Now, what's truly compelling here is the harsh financial realities staring Fowler right in the face. $5 million. It's a 1-year deal worth a maximum of $5 million. You really have to look at this through the lens of Seattle's current salary cap constraints to understand the genius behind it. They are pressed right up against the ceiling. They've already paid their core offensive stars. They've locked down their secondary. They literally did not have $20 or $30 million a year to throw at a prime-age marquee pass rusher in free agency. They had to find a high upside bargain. In the modern NFL, where premier edge rushers are signing these absurd contracts with hundreds of millions of dollars in guaranteed money, a 1-year, $5 million contract is the ultimate prove-it deal. For Dante Fowler Jr., who is now 31 years old, this is a massive career-defining moment. There is zero long-term security here. There is no safety net built into the guarantees. If he does not perform, if he does not hunt the opposing quarterback with absolute ferocity every single Sunday, this could very well be his final stop in professional football. The Seahawks know this. They are actively leveraging his desperation. They're making a calculated bet that a 31-year-old veteran with his back completely against the wall is the most dangerous weapon you can put on a football field.
So the crucial point we need to ask is, what exactly are the Seahawks getting for their $5 million? Let's look closely at the granular details of his 2025 campaign with the Dallas Cowboys. And please, do not just read these as cold, lifeless numbers on a screen. Read them as absolute proof of life. 17 games played. Think about that. In a league entirely defined by catastrophic season-ending injuries, playing all 17 games at age 30 in the trenches is a massive testament to ironclad durability and meticulous body maintenance. 15 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 pass defenses. But let's go deeper. Let's go beyond the basic box score into the smallest details, because that's where the real story lives. While 3 sacks might not jump off the page and make headlines, his underlying metrics are completely fascinating. His pass rush win rate on third and long situations hovered right above 14%. Let me put that into perspective. That means even when the offensive lineman knew without a shadow of a doubt that the pass was coming, Fowler was consistently beating his man off the snap. He relies on this devastating cross-chop technique that he has meticulously perfected over a decade, utilizing his veteran savvy to manipulate the offensive tackle's hand placement before swiping them violently away. What this specific data tells us is that while Fowler might not be the primary focal point of an offense's blocking scheme anymore, he still absolutely possesses the explosive burst, the situational awareness, and the sheer physical force required to blow up a play behind the line of scrimmage. He knows exactly how to hunt, and Seattle, they're going to need every single ounce of that instinct.
Part 2. The battlefield. Known enemies.
Because while the Seahawks are carefully constructing this defensive arsenal, we have to pan the camera over to the other side of the equation. We must look at exactly who they are building this defense to stop. The opponents are finalized, the war room boards are set, and let me tell you, the list of adversaries heading Seattle's way is nothing short of terrifying. Let's look at this tactical map to see how the narrative of the entire 2026 season is going to unfold. This is the full gauntlet. Just look at those home opponents coming to Lumen Field. You've got your guaranteed divisional bloodbaths with the Cardinals, the Rams, and the 49ers. Just playing those teams twice a year is a physical toll that derails entire seasons. But then, look at the out-of-division heavyweights crossing state lines to come to Seattle. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, the New York Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, the Chicago Bears, the New England Patriots. Think about the specific tactical nightmares this presents to a defense. You have to face Jim Harbaugh's physical, run-heavy, relentless attack with the Chargers, a system literally designed to bludgeon defensive fronts into total submission by the fourth quarter. You have to face the defensive complexities of Steve Spagnuolo's Kansas City Chiefs, an architect who disguises pressures and confuses quarterbacks better than maybe anyone in the history of the sport. And then you look at the road schedule. It offers absolutely zero reprieve. Traveling to the suffocating altitude of Denver, going into the hostile, deafening environment of the Raiders, facing the Commanders, the Eagles in Philadelphia, and the Panthers. Every single week is a strategic trap. Every single game has massive, season-altering playoff implications. When you look at the sheer wall of opposition, you suddenly realize exactly why the front office was willing to take a chance on a veteran brawler like Dante Fowler. You do not survive this table with rookies alone. You need hardened veterans who won't even flinch when the lights get overwhelmingly bright.
Part 3. Opening day speculation.
But the question that is legitimately keeping the city of Seattle awake at night isn't just about the totality of this season, it's about exactly how it begins. Now, the NFL schedule release is a highly guarded secret. It's built by these insanely complex algorithms housed on massive server banks in New York. But the leaks have begun to pour out from the front offices. Who is going to step into Lumen Field for week 1? Who is going to set the tone for this entire brutal campaign? The tension surrounding this singular decision is palpable. We have to methodically cross off the impossibilities to find the truth here. Let's process these schedule leaks step by step like a detective board. Step 1. The Giants and the Cowboys are off the board. The league has already locked them into a massive Sunday night football clash. Step 2. The 49ers and the Rams are out. They are opening their season on a completely different continent, playing a historic game down in Melbourne, Australia. Step 3. The Arizona Cardinals. Now, while technically possible geographically, you have to understand the smallest details of how the NFL operates as a business. Television executives at Fox and CBS dictate Week 1 scheduling. They bid massive, unthinkable amounts of money for the rights to compelling, narrative-driven matchups. And frankly, a Seattle-Arizona matchup currently lacks the national television appeal and the dramatic storylines required for the opening week spectacle. So just by pure elimination, this massive list of home opponents suddenly shrinks down to a very select, very dangerous few.
Now we are looking at the final 4 heavyweights. Let's contrast these remaining options.
On side A, we have the New England Patriots. This would be a literal Super Bowl rematch. It sounds incredible on paper, right? But the league rarely burns a narrative that huge on the very first week of the season. They usually save those massive crossover games for November sweeps or late season playoff pushes to maximize ratings. Also on side A, the Kansas City Chiefs. But remember the monumental shift happening in the NFL landscape right now. Patrick Mahomes is recovering from a torn ACL. Historically, the NFL scheduling committee is incredibly risk-averse when it comes to superstar injuries. Putting the Chiefs in a hostile primetime Week 1 slot with massive uncertainty surrounding the literal face of the entire league, the schedule makers simply won't risk a potential blowout on national television if Mahomes isn't fully cleared to play. That leaves us with side B. The Los Angeles Chargers, a gritty West Coast rival who have made the playoffs the last 2 years under Jim Harbaugh, bringing a physical brand of football that the networks absolutely love. Or the new era, the Chicago Bears, the reigning NFC North champions.
And there it is, the highly rumored, almost inevitable Week 1 opponent, the Chicago Bears and their superstar quarterback Caleb Williams. Listen to me, this isn't just a game, this is a cinematic event waiting to happen. You are taking the reigning champions of the NFC North, a team riding an absolute tidal wave of momentum, and throwing them straight into the deafening, hostile noise of Lumen Field in September. This is the exact kind of massive, high-stakes collision that television executives dream of, a potential winter playoff preview unfolding before the leaves even begin to change color. But to understand the true threat here, you have to look closely at Caleb Williams' specific skill set. He is an absolute master of the off-schedule play. He possesses this uncanny, frustrating ability to break the pocket, extend plays for 4, 5, 6 agonizing seconds, and launch a deep ball while running full speed toward the sideline. That specific trait, that is a nightmare for an aging defensive edge rusher. If Dante Fowler Jr. loses contain, even for a fraction of a second, Williams will exploit that gap and break the defenses back in an instant. The tactical matchups across the board are fascinating, but there is one specific storyline that makes this matchup incredibly, deeply personal.
Return to sender. This brings us all the way back to the chilling quote that started this entire explainer. If the Chicago Bears come to Seattle in Week 1, it means Kobe Bryant is coming back to Lumen Field. He explicitly demanded that Seattle be ready for him. He stated he wanted to start the season out there, under the nice weather with the whole world watching. The NFL is essentially a theater of drama, and a Week 1 clash against the Bears fulfills his threat immediately. Suddenly, Dante Fowler Jr. and the revamped Seattle defense aren't just preparing for Caleb Williams' dynamic arm, they are preparing for a team fueled by the personal vendettas of their former teammates. Think about the intel. Bryant knows the defensive calls. He knows the subtle pre-snap tells of the receivers. He is bringing inside classified intelligence directly to the enemy sideline. It's the ultimate revenge game on day 1.
Part 4. Global stage opportunities. But the claustrophobia of this schedule extends far beyond the borders of the Pacific Northwest. We must expand the scale of this explainer, because the NFL is no longer just an American pastime, it is a sprawling global behemoth. And as the schedule leaks continue to drop, we realize that this high-stakes season might not just be fought on American soil. Look at the only 2 possible international destinations currently waiting for the Seahawks. We are contracting 2 completely different, absolute nightmares of physiological exhaustion. Option 1, London, England, hosted by the Washington Commanders. This requires traversing an 8-hour time gap. If you look at the smallest details of sports science, we know that this severely alters a player's REM sleep cycles. The human body's circadian rhythm gets completely thrown off, which scientifically reduces reaction times by crucial milliseconds. And let me be clear, those are the exact milliseconds a veteran like Fowler needs to beat a 300-pound left tackle. Then you have option 2, Mexico City, Mexico, hosted by their brutal divisional rival, the San Francisco 49ers. This isn't just a long flight, this is a literal battle against geography. We're talking about Estadio Azteca, sitting at an elevation of over 7,300 feet above sea level. The air is dangerously thin up there. The altitude specifically depletes oxygen in the muscle tissue at a highly accelerated rate. That means by the 4th quarter, players are fighting through lactic acid buildup that makes their legs feel like concrete. Lungs burn. The recovery between snaps takes twice as long. Either option forces the Seahawks onto the global stage and amplifies the drama, significantly increasing the extreme physical toll of an already unforgiving, relentless year.
Conclusion. Setting the ultimate standard. So how do we bring all these distinct, chaotic threads together? You have the desperate veteran signing of Dante Fowler Jr., a literal mercenary brought in to violently disrupt the opponent's backfield on a 1-year do-or-die prove-it contract. You have a terrifying gauntlet of a schedule featuring the masterminds of the Chiefs, the physical toll of the Chargers, the familiar, bruising bloodbath of the 49ers, and a highly anticipated, deeply personal Week 1 clash against Caleb Williams, Kobe Bryant, and the Chicago Bears. And hovering over all of this, you have the looming threat of international travel to Mexico City or London, strategically designed by the schedule makers to push the human body to its absolute physiological limits. The front office has done all they can do. They have assembled the pieces. They have set the ultimate standard for what is required to survive the 2026 campaign. The enemies are known. The Seahawks have built an arsenal for a war. The only question left is whether they are the hunters or the prey. Thank you for joining me on this incredibly deep dive into the Seahawks' intense roadmap for 2026. If you found this breakdown valuable, if it made you view the game a little differently, remember to subscribe to NFL Nexus right now. Hit that like button on this explainer and sound off in the comments below. I genuinely want to know if you think Dante Fowler Jr. is the missing piece, or if this schedule is just way too much for any team to overcome. And please, don't forget to support the channel directly by becoming a member. Until next time, keep analyzing the details, because in the NFL, the smallest details are exactly what win championships.